Welcome back. Now, I know today our focus is on endometriosis, but we're gonna take care of our entire health. That's why we're minding your mind, your brains, your mental health with Mindfulness with Shalini Bala Lucas up next.
Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Mindfulness with me, Shalini Bala Lucas. I don't know if this has happened to you before, but sometimes I'll sit down and I'll say, okay, I'm gonna take 10 minutes out of my day and I'm gonna meditate. And it's really quiet, there's no sounds around, and then suddenly the person next door starts mowing the lawn and all I can hear is the lawnmower. Or there's suddenly a whole load of cars driving past. It just feels like there's sound everywhere and it becomes quite distracting. Instead of giving up on the meditation, I'm going to teach you a technique that allows you to use that sound as an anchor for your mind. So then really you have no excuses but to carry on with the meditation. So this is a sounds meditation. So finding your comfortable position, and that may be sat on a chair, lying in the bed, whatever works for you. This is a particularly good one to give your attention to sounds that are far away. So really focus your mind on sounds that are not close to you but that are really far in the distance. I think you'll find some very surprising results. I hope you found that useful. Please do connect with me on social media at JustJoom. Until then, be safe, be mindful. I'm Shalini Bala Lucas. Thank you for watching.
All right, if you're just joining us, this is KTN Life and Style. Our main topic today is all about endometriosis. What are the causes? What is the treatment, if any? And just how is the day-to-day life of an endo warrior?
Welcome to KTN Life and Style. My name is Anixi, and my lovely panelist is with Stacy, Doris, and Maggie. For starters, Stacy is a 20-year-old student with an amazing story today all about endometriosis. And of course, we have Doris. She is the founder of Endometriosis Sisters East Africa, right? And of course, we have Maggie. She is the head of Department Occupational Therapy, School of Health and Sciences in Presbyterian University, East Africa. Such a lovely panelist. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you too.
You sound so like, oh, thank you too. You are most welcome.
Yeah.
All right. So our topic today is all about endometriosis, and I'm so lucky, of course, to have such a strong panelist with me.
Pleasure too.
Yes. So to start us off, Stacy, you're an endo warrior yourself. Now, Stacy, kindly just give us a few hints here and there of how your journey started and how you've been dealing with this so far.
Okay. Hi, I'm Stacy. So I have been battling with endometriosis for about 7 years. It all started back in 2012. I was still in primary. You know, I had my first periods and everything. But then I didn't know much about endometriosis or other complications that come with menstruation. So when I first started, it was like everything is normal, right? I actually bled for around 3 months, thinking it was normal before, because you know, being immature and everything, I thought when you first have your periods, it's supposed to go for, you know, for a lifetime on a daily basis. That's when I sought my first consultation with a gynecologist. I was put on under treatment, hormonal therapy. Then my periods came normal, but now the cramps came after. So afterwards, I went to high school. The pains are still way much abnormal. I couldn't deal with the painkillers. I would take painkillers, but they wouldn't help. So after high school, it's when I sought for another opinion from another gynecologist. He narrowed down a few things that come with menstruation, all the complications, the abnormal cramping and normal cramping. When do you consider normal cramping a normal menstruation? So that's when I had I did a laparoscopy. That was in 2019, early 2019. And I was diagnosed with endometriosis. So as you can see, it was like a battle of 7 years to my diagnosis before I knew that I actually had a problem, before this was normal. This is something that's supposed to happen. So after my diagnosis, I started having, I didn't go for hormonal therapy first, the treatment that one's supposed to go to for endometriosis. I sought for some Chinese herbal treatment. That's what I've been working with. And this year I was diagnosed again with adenomyosis. So I'm dealing with endometriosis and adenomyosis. But so far so good. God has been good, yeah?
Wow. But okay,
Yeah.
so what's endometriosis? And does it come as a result of having endometriosis for quite a long time?
No, not really. I think endometriosis is just the tissues are outside.
Mm-hmm.
They're outside the uterus. For like in my case, I have them on my uterus and on my left ovary.
Okay.
And then now adenomyosis are the abnormal tissues that now are inside the uterus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only big difference.
All right. But it's not necessarily that one is as a result of the other.
No.
All right. Now, at what point did you feel brave enough to start sharing your story out loud? And what really motivated you to do the same?
Actually, I remember the first time we met Doris. It was on a symposium about endo. It was 2 weeks after my diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there, and then my gynecologist was like, don't miss out her. She's talking about the story, yeah?
Yes.
So I met her, and I think I should talk to her because she relates to what I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one better who can convince me on what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
So I spoke to Doris.
Mm-hmm.
She had me join Endo Sisters. And then as the process goes through, through all this awareness and everything, she actually made me talk once in some awareness. Our awareness month is on March. So during that period of March, I had a talk with a congregation.
Mm-hmm.
She gave me that courage, like, to share with other people,
mm-hmm.
to bring about that awareness also for them to understand what people are going through out here.
Yes.
So yeah, actually after I met her, that's when I was brave enough to talk about everything that I've gone through.
Yeah.
I never did that before.
That's really nice. So Doris, of course, a lot is already being done in reality. I mean, the Endo Sisters Foundation is, of course, doing a lot for our Endo warriors. And even the government, we've seen it come in when it comes to issues to do with menstrual awareness, even them passing the bill where girls in the state schools, should be given pads for free. I mean, good things are being done, but again, at the end of the day, we still feel like there are gaps that need to be filled. Maybe you could talk to us about those gaps and maybe what people should do about them.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I was really glad to see that last year, I think it was November 21st, when the menstrual health and hygiene policy went through for the distribution of pads for girls. So that was, that was really good. But at Endo Sisters, we still felt that there was a real gap because we would have liked to see not just the issue of access to the pads and the issue of hygiene highlighted, but also the issue of menstrual disorders. Because when we talk about, the issue of menstrual health and hygiene, you see that there's a lot of issue of taboos that's mentioned, even within that policy. They say that there's stigma around periods and all that. Yeah. Now, not talking about menstrual disorders, which are the abnormal kind of periods that girls have, also tends to perpetuate that kind of stigma because makes it look like such, periods such as, conditions such as endometriosis, adenomyosis, fibroids, and, PCOS, all these other symptoms, it's like they don't occur, they don't happen. So by just focusing on that policy, on issues of distribution of the and just sanitation issues in terms of hygiene, then it negates a really big portion, which still causes stigma for girls.
Okay.
Yeah. So for us, what we feel would be the best thing in terms of, when you say how do we address the gaps, we wish that, we know this, that policy is owned by I think it's domiciled at the Ministry of Health. The best thing would be for them to include the issue of menstrual disorders as an addendum, just to include it so that people also know about it, and it helps in reducing stigma, so that at one point it's not just seen that, okay, we have girls' pads, we've given them sanitation mechanisms where to dispose and everything. So what other problem could these girls be facing? They need to know that other problems include issues of, painful periods. They need medication, they need painkillers, and part of the reason why they are really maybe going through so many parts is because of the underlying conditions that they have. So if we don't address that, then there is no mechanism for treating these disorders. And that's where, that's a real big problem.
I hear you, because even for me, I remember being an adolescent, and when these things for reproductive system were being taught, okay, we were told about menstrual stuff, the cycle, how it all goes about, ovulation, all of it, but no one really told me about the conditions that could come with the same, So I hear you, and I feel like that's a gap for sure that should really be filled. And then I loved how you stated that there is a stigma that comes with this. Maybe Maggie, you can talk to us about other psychological issues that can be, perpetrated to the victims of these menstrual conditions.
Yeah, for sure. There is a big psychological aspect to menstrual health that, of course, now is the mental health of our adolescents. We know that adolescence in itself is a season of transition. It's a turbulent season, and particularly for our young girls, because often they are already stigmatized, like Doris has addressed. They're stigmatized just by virtue of the fact that they have monthly periods. And yet we know that adolescents are struggling with issues like self-esteem, peer pressure, that aspect of feeling secure, feeling that I'm worth something, I'm worth to somebody. Not to mention the future aspect. They're in school. How are they going to perform in school? We have so much pressure related to academics. And young girls are struggling with, how will I succeed? Will I succeed? What is my future? So there are issues of anxiety about the future. There are issues of just secure in who they are. There are issues of acceptance by peers, acceptance by the society, not just for now, but even for the future. So all these psychological aspects are sort of, they compound the whole issue related to menstrual health. And we need to recognize that our children are mental beings. They are psychological beings. It's not just a physical condition. There's a mental aspect to it, and the complicated or additional psychological factors that compound and augment the whole menstrual health issue.
Stacey, would you tell us some of these psychological issues that you went through when you came to understand that, wow, I have endometriosis? What was going on in your head? What did you feel? Did your environment change around you? What was that like for you?
I think for me, after my diagnosis, I don't think I accepted it before. Because when I went into surgery, I was convinced this is just going to turn out something normal. Like back in my head, I knew this was endometriosis because I had already gone through pap smear to identify if I had cervical cancer. I had done what is it called? Ultrasound check for cysts or fibroids, but there was nothing. So back in my mind, I knew this is endometriosis. But for a while, it was a bit confusing because you wouldn't know how you're supposed to go about it. And I was a bit scared of the treatment because the injection is just, how can I put it, Doris? Zoladex.
Yes, Zoladex, yes. Yeah. It's a big injection. It's quite intimidating. That's what she's trying to say. And it's also painful to injected in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So personally, my environment didn't change much, but my mentality really changed, because this is something that I'm going to live with. There are certain things I need to stop thinking of, other plans that I'm supposed to do, as I'm supposed to diet, you know, to better my health and everything. So personally, my outside environment never changed, but me, myself, I really changed a bit. I matured
Yes.
more. Yeah, it brings about a little bit of more maturity, because I am not supposed to think about what I'm going to do now.
Yes.
This is something I'm going to live with, so I need to think about my future. So yeah.
What kind of support did you get from, let's say, your parents?
They were fully supportive.
Yes.
Very, very supportive. I had supportive friends, both emotionally and physically, in anything that I'm supposed to do. For like school, I remember the time I had my surgery, I missed my exams.
Oh no.
Yeah, but all in all, I later, you know, there's just that recovery period you're supposed to have. So my parents could pay for cab from home to school and everything. My friends would come visit me a bit. So at least it didn't bring about much of depression and so much thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least I had some time to accept things and, you know, move on. And actually, now that I have something, I have the problem at my hand, it's a bit easier to look for solutions.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. It's even beginning to get a bit emotional. Maybe actually, Doris, you can tell us, how does the life of an endo warrior look like, especially when it's during that time of the month? Just to bring everything into perspective.
Now, during that time of the month, now for an endo warrior.
Yes.
My goodness. First of all, chronic fatigue. That's let's just talk about that. Chronic fatigue, intense pain, you know, and this may vary, by the way. It's not a one-size-fits-all, but the main symptoms. Then pelvic pain, abdominal pain. Some women have bloating, others have nausea. There's pain even in going to the toilet, for example, maybe in passing, yes, in passing urine. And there's also, some people get leg endometriosis, so it's also painful, you know, even the leg, you feel the pain going down the leg, and also lower backache. And some women also get headache, chronic, you know, really bad headache. So it's a horrible, horrible feeling. And the sad thing is the painkillers that one keeps taking just don't seem to work. You know, with every period, as you're going, as the girl is going through the menstrual cycle, it gets worse and worse and worse, you know, until you reach a point where you feel this pain can't get any worse, honestly. So it's quite bad.
All right, I know we are all enjoying the conversation this far, from Doris, Maggie, and Stacy. The insights, honey, it's a lot happening. I'm so sorry to cut you short, but I promise you we'll be back with more right after this commercial break.